Greetings. Today's topic is fun. It's a personal matter for me, which is fanfiction and copyright laws. I didn't do my research. All I heard is from word of mouth and videos and random articles on the internet. But as far as I understand, the way the copyright law used to be was that there was a certain time period you're allowed to generate revenue from your creative work, and once that time limit is done, which is I think either 20, 30 or something years of that, this everything you got becomes public access, meaning that people can take it and distribute it to make revenue for themselves, or that other writers who are fascinated by it and want to add their own take on it can. This is how it used to be. This is why we have works like Dracula available for any person to make a story on. That's why Lovecraft is so everybody can make a Lovecraft related thing without any problems. That's why a lot of classical stories are available for everybody to say. Hey, Hitler's book, Mein Kampf. Oh God, do you know how many copies there are on each fucking wall in an Arabic fucking like bookstore, like our Mein Kampf in Arabic, like everywhere. Just like you enter like our book fair, our yearly book fair in Kuwait, and every library has their own one with a picture of Hitler and red and behind and the Nazi flag and him just looking all edgy, right? And it's like, why is it everywhere? Can everybody print this shit? Well, yeah, right? Because it's for the public. Anybody can do it. And that changed. And I think that changed by Disney. That became 100 years, right? They wanted to extend their Mickey Mouse contract. They didn't want it out of their thing. So they just pressed here and pressed there, paid here and paid there. And next thing you know, you can never use Mickey Mouse unless you're Disney. And you can't wait until you can. And that applies for everything after. Like everything after, you have dibs on for eternity, or what seems like it anyway. And there's a problem with that, I believe. And that problem is fanfiction. What am I referring to? So, I remember watching an interview with Martin, the writer of Game of Thrones, J.R.R. Martin, right? And they asked him about people who make like fictional works that are in his universe, and the Song of Ice and Fire universe, the Game of Thrones universe, about their characters and whatnot, and they like produce it. And he was like, as long as they're not making revenue off my work and my world, I'm fine with it. But I put it on the side, because like when I made a fan fiction about superheroes, those were my characters. I didn't borrow characters and played around with them. And so he was really a bit belittling, or at least that's how I viewed it, the concept of fan fiction. Fan fiction has a bad rep, and the reason it has a bad rep is because you go to fanfiction.com and you see somebody having Sonic and Goku saving the world from Doctor Doom, and you wonder like, okay, what the fuck are you doing? This isn't, no. But then you have something like, their interpretation of Sherlock Holmes was quite good in that show, or this show about Sherlock Holmes, the character. How is that not fan fiction? This interpretation, this fancy word that you've attached to your fan fiction. There was an original Sherlock Holmes book. There was an original Watson. They were portrayed in certain ways, much like there was an original Superman. Superman never got out, but you get my gesture. And then, as times evolve, and now this is available, like that name is available for everybody, people can put their own interpretation out there. It's not original content, it's just their own take. I like the character, the archetype of Sherlock Holmes. I wish if I could make a story, but I'll never make as much money if I didn't use Sherlock Holmes. And hey, two birds with one stone. I get to write about my favorite character and my own take and how I would write it, and I get to um, engage in this now universe of people who are also into Sherlock Holmes with my own ideas. What's wrong with that? You know, when Netflix made Daredevil, that was an interpretation. There was another interpretation, the movie Daredevil, which was horrible. Um, these might as well be fan fiction because the original content is then the Marvel comics. How dare they? You know, how dare they translate this into a different form? It's fan fiction. Will I like delve that far behind? Yes, it's fan fiction, and it's not bad. What's bad is when the kids try to play around and make their own stuff, and that's fine. It's just not for public consumption, right? It's for them. They get to engage. They like the first thing ever written was a fan fiction, and it was an ambitious one at that. I'm like, I want like the entire plot of Dragon Ball could be so much better. I'm gonna remake it and put lore and put like rules to the universe and like descale the power levels so they make sense. And I worked hard on it. Never finished it. Like I think I wrote up to the Saiyans getting beaten up and then leaving Earth, and I stopped there because I realized this is getting me nowhere, and better write my own stuff. Um, why remake a Dragon Ball Z that nobody will watch, and might as well make my own book that nobody will read, and at least it's mine, you know. But it trained me, right? It trained me to think, like, to see how I would write my own stuff. It gave me the skills I need. While what's its name? Um, a lot of people like I lost my train of thought, but again, fan fiction is not bad, and I think it should be encouraged. Maybe people shouldn't make money off it using your work. Maybe they should give you a portion of it and then they can do it. But I find it horrendous that the Star Wars universe has a huge expanded universe outside of the movies with deep, well written characters that was just thrown off as non canon, and now the movies are where you go to for good stuff. Even though they could have easily, the, I guess not so, now that you bought the product without the extended universe. It's a big messy thing, the Star Wars thing, but just by making that word, all of that is non-canon means that all of that just became fan fiction, and blown off to the side. Like hours and hours of great content burned at the. It's a sad thing, but yeah, that's what happens. And to me, it's a sad thing that you extended the copyright law to like 100 years because the generation that was passionate about the product is dead by the time the product is now out for public access. People have to skim the history and the trends, the ever expanding like trends of the world and the memes and the whatnot. In order to find these gems and maybe make something out of them, and there is no nostalgia factor except for like the nerd who came out of the woodworks, who plays who still plays games from the Nintendo 64 or whatever, and sees now the common trends are like, oh, I'm a passionate fan of H.P. Lovecraft in 2018, like. But if there was always, again, there are still fans of Lovecraft because people kept making Lovecraftian stuff. But who will know about Dragon Ball in 100 years? It'll just be something that happened in the past. Maybe like the classic, the founder is Dragon Ball, but look at all the other better stuff that you and the cool kids can talk about. Nobody cares about. I don't know, give me a game from that motorcycle game where you get to race on the Nintendo. You're on a racetrack and you do laps and you're supposed to do it fast enough Who cares about it? Never became a franchise, never became anything, just disappeared into time, right? And even though people were probably, it was probably the shit once, um, because the trend is gone, this game died with the trend. It's a trendy thing, not a universe. But what if somebody got to make their own Witcher game 25 years from now? They played the game 16, they got into game design, and now they became a CEO of a very well known company. The copyrights for the Witcher games are gone. It's free market now. Anybody who wanted to make a Witcher game can. Not all of them will be good, most of them will probably be bad, but Geralt of Rivia is an archetype, isn't he? Maybe some people should be able to see it. Give the people the chance to put their own take. Maybe they have a bit more brilliant mind than the ones who made it. Not likely. But I didn't like the original Dracula. The original Dracula was lame. Didn't have any powers. Apparently giving a vampire busted powers is kind of fun, isn't it? Right? Bram Stoker. Maybe you should have put it there. Nobody would have taken you seriously at your time. Leave it to us, the new generation. We like cool shit exploding and blood splattering all around. Let's put our own generation's take on it. Hey, that give the anthropologists something to study, right? So yeah, that's my 2 cents on the issue. Comment, subscribe, whatever, and I'll see you guys on the next one.